Hey y'all, we're gonna dive into Lightroom today. So if you go down into your search, I use Lightroom all the time, so it's in one of my most recents, but you can type in Lightroom and you want to click on Lightroom Classic. That should be downloaded on your computer already. If not, then you're going to go into the Creative Cloud app, which is this little rainbow guy. It should be somewhere on your desktop, and then you can open Lightroom from there. Okay, so I'll show you what that looks like once it loads. Okay, so you can go into all of your apps. You can see Lightroom Classic. Apparently, I have an update. We're not going to worry about that right this second. So Lightroom, I have it open. So this is what my Lightroom looks like when I open it. Gersh. Let me bring it over here. Okay, this is what my Lightroom looks like when I open it. I've got a heck ton of photos in here. We can see different projects I've been working on, all of that in my library. What we're going to do is import some photos. So what you want to do is click down here and click on import. Once you get into the import dialog, you want to make sure you have copy as DNG selected, and we will go into why that's important. But just make sure, just trust me, click copy as DNG. Okay, when you are setting up your Lightroom, when you're setting up your importing, I want to make sure that you set up something called apply during import. So this is going to be something that applies to every photo that you import if you choose this preset. So in your metadata presets, we know our metadata is where we're going to keep our copyright and things like that. So I have a copyright with my name on it. What you're going to do is go to new. Let me pull my dialog box over, and this is what it looks like. So fun fact, if you hold down Alt on your keyboard and press 0, 1, 6, 9, you'll get a little copyright symbol. Fun fact. And then I want you to type in your first and last name, and then that will be your preset to copyright every photo that you import. Okay? Work smarter, not harder. Then I want you to go down into the oh my gosh, dyslexia, IPTC copyright and do the same thing because this is just your preset. This is actually your copyright. So Alt 0169 and then first and last name. Oops, can I spell my own last name? No. And then go from unknown to copyrighted because these are your photos. You want to copyright them. And then the creator is me. And then you can put in your phone, in your email, and your website if you have one of those. Okay? And then we're going to hit create. Okay, well, I already have a preset with that name, so yours will not do that. But create, and then, oh my gosh, wow, there it is. I created it. Then we're going to apply that. Any keywords that I have for the photos I'm going to import, I want to put here. So let's go find the photos I want to import. So I like to go up to here to select a source. Sometimes it pops up nicely in my files, but I have so many photos in my computer. So I like to go to the sources up here, go to other source, and then I can look in this dialog, which I love this dialog box. It's way easy to find stuff. So I'm going to go to pictures. I want to do some product pictures, and I don't want to go into the pictures I already exported because that'd be silly. So I'm going to select that folder, and then all of my product pictures will pop up. I could check all of them or uncheck all of them. I'm going to uncheck all of them so I can go in and see which ones I really want. If I want to see them bigger, I can scroll on my wheel here, or my little slider here, and then I can kind of see a bigger preview of them. If I want to check this one out big, I can go down to my loop view. This is our grid view. This is loop view. Everything has keyboard shortcut, obviously. So we'll go to loop view and see, yeah, I like that one. Okay, so I'm going to include that one in the import, and then I'll go back to the grid view and see, maybe I want to include this one. We'll see if that's, yep, sure, we'll include that one, and then we'll pick one more so we have a nice set of 3. let's see. Well, I already imported some of these, so I'm just gonna pick another, like maybe this one. Sure, cool. Okay, I have my, let me move my face. I have my 3 pictures chosen. Boom, boom, boom. And then I'm going to make sure I have copy as DNG selected so that I have a DNG version or DNG copy of each of my raw photos. And then I'm going to press import. Boop. Okay, now those are importing up in the top. Oh my gosh, there they are. Oh my gosh, okay, yay. 3 photos were converted to DNG, yay. So now I have my 3 photos. I want to make them easy to find in the future. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a collection. So I'm going to select this one and then hold shift on my keyboard and select all of them, or I can hit Control A and select all of them that way. There's lots of ways you can do that. I want to select all of my pictures. Can't drag and drop a box. Nope, can't do that. Then I'm going to go over to, I have a lot of things open over here in my catalog. I have folders. Here are my collections. So I'm going to make a new collection with the plus button, go create collection. It's grabbing the photos that are already in there. I'm going to name these necklace, product, okay? And then I want to include the selected photos. I already made DNG copies, so I don't need to make more virtual copies. And then I'm going to sync it with my Lightroom and then hit create. Okay, just because my syncing is off on my whole computer so that my video will work better, that was a weird pop-up, just so you know, okay? That should not happen to you. Okay, so we have our photos. We can go and find them. They're in a nice collection. What we're gonna do is go to develop. Now we're in a whole new window, which means I need to move my face again because that's the important stuff over there. That's the nuts and bolts. Okay, so what is all of this stuff in the develop tab? I need to open up this side of my develop tab as well. So where can I put my face? Oh my gosh, there's not a lot of space left because we also need to open up this tab. Okay, now you can see my photo has gotten a lot smaller. So once I know like what I'm looking for, I can start getting rid of some of these panels. Like I know I only have 3 photos I'm going through, so I'm gonna get rid of that panel when I'm working. Right now I want to show you everything on there, so I'm going to leave it open. Okay. All right. So we're in the develop tab. Library tab is where you import and export. Develop is where you're going to develop your photos. Kind of think of it like a dark room where you're going to like develop your film, but it's Lightroom because it's digital. Ooh, I know. So awesome. Okay. So, typically when you open up Lightroom, you're just kind of going to work your way down this panel, adjusting things as you go, which is kind of really handy. How Photoshop has like way too many buttons. This has like all you need right in one little spot. I will say, as a photographer, I generally go straight to Lightroom, and then if I need more pixel like manipulation, like actual photo manipulation, not just lighting, then I'll go into Photoshop. But most often I can do everything that I need to for like a client project or something inside of Lightroom. Okay, so basically you're going to make slight adjustments as you go down. We've got lots of buttons up here. Here's your crop tool. This is your spot removal tool. We got red eye, we've graduated filter, a radial filter, and then your adjustment brush. So we will talk about those, but we're going to just work on just the sliders for a second. Otherwise this video is going to be like hours long. Okay, first things first, we have our temperature control. What you can do is click on the white balance selector, and I know that my white box or my light box was supposed to be white in the photo, so I can pick a targeted neutral, which means this is supposed to not have any color. It's supposed to be white. And then I can have Lightroom adjust the color balance for me. Will that work if I click on something that has color? No, right? We want to make sure it's something that's neutral, like a white, a gray, or a black. Okay, if that still feels a little off to me, which it does, I feel like it feels still kind of green, but that could just be my eyes. I don't know. I'm going to manually adjust it here, okay? You can also adjust if I know I was in maybe a certain type of light, I can go to that certain type of light, which, you know, clearly is not what I want right now. So you can also choose auto or as shot. This is a nice tip to try to get a gray, and then it will, oh look, my light is pretty much correct. Okay, next we can go to exposure. We know exposure is, you know, how much light is in your camera. So we can add exposure, we can take exposure out. If you double click, it'll set you back to 0. That's really handy. I like to use my mouse to click and scroll so I can make small adjustments. Sometimes if you're on like a trackpad, it's like, whoa, way over to one side. So I'm going to add a little bit of light, but I don't want to add it all with exposure because I have all of these other settings I can help add light with. So do you want to darken or lighten your entire image? I'm going to lighten mine just a little bit, not a full stop, but almost half a stop. Do you want to do any contrast to your photo so we can see what that looks like? I might do just a tad just to make the wire pop out a little bit more. Okay, so lets you give the overall image some more contrast. Darker areas are going to get darker, lighter areas are going to get lighter. You can also go less contrasty and maybe make it more gray. Totally up to you. Highlights are going to let you adjust the exposure or the brightness of just the brightest parts of your image. So let's just see what highlights does. Ooh, I feel like it's kind of nice, but it's going to make this little spot really stand out. So I'm not sure if I like that. Maybe I can take the highlights down and bump up the white values instead. Oh, so there's lots of things you can play around with. Shadows, similar to highlights and whites. So shadows is going to intensify or adjust, I guess, the exposure of the darkest areas of your image. So we're going to take the shadows and make them darker. I don't know. I don't think I don't think I want to make them darker. So, and then blacks is going to let you adjust how many of the pixels in your image are 100% pure black. So right now we have maybe, you know, not so many that are just like 100% black, but as we drag these down, some of those ones that are maybe in the gray area now become more 100% black, which I do like the look of. I think I'm going to bring my shadows up, but then intensify those darks. So I think that makes everything pop out a little bit. All right, we are done with our tone section. Now we're working on to our presence section, which has texture, clarity, dehaze, vibrance, and saturation. So clarity is going to adjust the midtone, the contrast in your midtone levels. So moving it to, the left is going to smooth everything out. As you can see, it kind of takes away the texture in the rock. Moving it to the right is going to kind of make everything really textured. I'm going to bring a little clarity up because it is jewelry and I want to make things pop in there, but I don't want to make it like weird looking. Texture is going to intensify the contrast in the textures. You can make it more smooth or more rough. I kind of want it to be just a little bit more textured. And then dehaze, kind of, if you ever have a photo that feels like there's like a lot of gray value or like things look washed out, dehaze can really help if you bump it up this way. Now I'm in a light box for this photo, so I don't think I need actually any of that dehazing, but that can work wonders for your photo. So vibrance is going to intensify more of the muted colors, which is a lot of this photo. Like I have a lot of muted colors in this photo. So I could intensify those colors. I don't like how that looks if I do way too much, but I do kind of like if I have just a little bit. I want to keep the photo true to what the product is. I don't want to make the product look like super colorful and then the customer gets the product and it looks not super colorful. You know what I mean? So you want to keep it true to what it is. But it will leave the well saturated colors alone, vibrance will. Saturation, however, is going to increase or decrease the intensity of all of the colors, not just some of them, but everything. So be really careful with saturation. It can get out of hand really quick. Okay, so you could, sometimes people drop the saturation, but intensify the vibrance. That's a thing. You can play around with this as much as you would like. I want to go through a couple other things. We're going to leave tone curve alone for just a little bit because we have all of this to learn about first. But I do want to show you about the HSL slider because that was like my favorite thing learning about Lightroom. It lets you adjust specific colors. So right here we have like a green rock. So I can adjust the color of that green. Again, I would not want to because that would adjust the quality of the product. But do you see this kind of yellowish gold that's in the wire there that is not supposed to be there? We could go in and pull that out a little bit. Let's see if we can pull that out with yellow too. Ooh, not too much. Nope, we can't pull it out with yellow. So something we can do is go down with our adjustment brush, zoom in over here on our navigation panel, maybe not quite so much. And we can kind of use that adjustment brush and paint and take some of that warmth out. Not too much, obviously, because that will look like we have something happening there. Let's see. Let's go to 66. Okay, now we were going to go fix this saturation. So because the wire is silver, the saturation at 0 kind of had like maybe a reflection from the light. So if we turn that saturation off, we get silver wire again. And that can be done. And then I can zoom out and we can be like, oh, whoa, fixed. Cool. Okay. I do need to definitely crop this photo because it's way off center. So I can play around with different sizes. I can use my rule of thirds. If I press X on my keyboard, I can go maybe sideways with it if I want. That looks pretty nice over there. A new favorite trick of mine, because there's always new things to learn with Adobe, is if you press L on your keyboard, it will turn the lights off on your Lightroom. Let's see. So it'll turn the lights off on your Lightroom, and then you can see what does it look like when it's cropped. So sometimes all that other stuff is really distracting, but it's really nice to see, okay, what does this look like with nothing else around? Is this a good crop, or should I move this in a little bit more? Maybe I should have it. No, I definitely shouldn't have it cut off. That bothers me. I want the necklace to be in the center, right? So then you have the lights off, press L to turn them back on, and then you can be done. Okay, cool. So HSL is really fun. We can change maybe the color of the rock a little bit to be maybe more warm. That's fun. You can make things brighter or darker. I think this whole picture needs a little brightening up for the details of this. Okay, now what if I want to take these exact edits and copy them over to this picture? I can do that. So what I'm going to do is click on the photo I just edited, and then I'm going to hold Control on my keyboard and click on the photo I want to match. Now these photos need to be taken with the same settings and the same exposure, otherwise you'll get really weird, wonky pictures. Then I'm going to press Sync. I want you to watch down in the corner what's going to happen. I can decide, do I want white balance the same, the tone, curved, what do I want to match? I want pretty much everything to match except for the crop because I don't want to crop it yet. And then I'm going to hit synchronize. And now, ooh, okay, so this photo must have been a little bit brighter because you can see this photo is still darker. So I think I'm actually going to brighten this one up because it feels really dark. And I can add a little bit more contrast. Okay, so imagine these are done, which they're definitely not, but I know this is a really long video. So imagine these are done. We are going to finalize them, learn about more settings in a different video because there's a lot more to go into. We're going to go and take these two pictures that we're done with. We're going to go back to our library tab. Once we get back to our library tab, I can move my face again. And we're going to export our photos. Oh, I want to show you really quick how you can use the history tab because that's really handy. So there's all of these really handy, cool filters over here if you like to want to try to use presets. I almost forgot to show you about presets. They're really fun. I like to look at them. Not always do I use them, but sometimes they're fun. There's a lot to go into. You can make your own presets by pressing on this button and choosing a photo that's already edited, and then you can use those presets from it. But the history tool is really awesome because you can see all of the things that you've done to this photo, and you can go back in time because remember, this is non-destructive. So we could go all the way back to when we first started messing with the white balance, and all you can do is click on it and it'll take you back to the original photo. And then you can go all the way back up to where we had it just now, and you can do that also. So that's really awesome. So we're going to go to library and we're going to hit control. So I select both of these, and then I'm going to hit export. And I want to export these photos somewhere, obviously, that I can find them. So I want to export them to either the same folder as where I got them, which is sometimes helpful for people. So this time I know I have my photos already in a product folder. I don't really want to go make another one. I'm going to put them in a subfolder that says exports. And then you can rename your photos if you want to rename them to like best product, sure, because I'm not going to save these photos for actual clients. And then let's see, you can choose the quality of how big you want your photos to be, what image format. I obviously am choosing JPEG because I want to be able to send these photos. What kind of metadata do you want to include? Remember, we made yourself a metadata copyright, so we want to keep that in there. So you can always go back into Lightroom. None of the things that you edited are permanent. You can always make more edits and re-export. You can make 10 copies of a photo and export all of them at the same time, but just know that nothing in here is destructive. You can always go back in and re-edit. This is non-destructive editing, okay? But you're only going to be able to see changes when you're in Lightroom unless you export it. Nothing becomes real until you export it, then it becomes a file again, okay? So we're going to choose all of our settings here, find where we want to put it, and then are you ready? We're going to hit export. So it's exporting 2 files, and it's going to put them in that nice little folder for me. And then when it's done, we can pull up those photos. Oh, it's almost done. Like I said, there's a lot more to go through. That is just a nice quick intro. Here's my 2 photos exported. Awesome. Okay. Thanks for joining me.